So, Karima, I'm Laurie, and I'm going to be your counselor while you're here.
Okay.
It's nice to meet you. I'm
Me
glad
too.
you're here. I heard you had a hard time last night. Do you want to tell
Well,
me about it?
um, you know, they was eating dinner when I got there, so I went in to put my stuff up, and I guess they put the place on the table and stuff, so I separated my stuff like I normally do on my plate, and then went back to put my stuff up, and by the time I came back, I swear somebody had messed with my food. I know they had,
Ooh.
because it was like, jumbled up and stuff was touching, and I just,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was I was so upset. All I could think about was how I had to eat that dog food. So I didn't even want it. I just threw it in the trash.
So, eating the dog food, that was a memory for you?
Mm,
Something that happened to you before?
yeah, I had to do it.
Yeah. And that sounds really hard. What kinds of feelings did that bring up for you?
Oh, just sad and like, it's just like I feel like an animal.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so then when somebody messes with your food, it reminds you of that. And those feelings sound pretty hard, really hard. And so, how did you manage those feelings? What did you do?
Well, I tried to just, I didn't want to say nothing to nobody because this is like my sixth group home. I don't even know how many they have here, but I like it here. I don't want to have to leave again.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that I have a place to stay, but
You were worried about being kicked out. That's scary too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had just
Yeah.
got there, so I
So,
knew not to. I had just got there, so I didn't want to. I didn't want to start no trouble, so I had to do what I had to do.
so you felt like you had to handle this on your own. That it wasn't a good idea to let people help you.
Yeah, I didn't trust some people there. I just got there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I wasn't even paying attention. I just looked up when I got in the room. I still had the fork in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right. So you don't even remember making that decision. It just kind of,
yeah, just
there you were with the fork.
I had to do something because I just wanted to just knock something over, just flip something over. I really wanted to put my hands on somebody, but
You felt pretty overwhelmed.
so
And so you actually like made the choice that this might be the safest thing you could do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
was
felt
better.
like it was a better choice than you might hurt somebody, you might knock something over. So you actually thought about that, and I mean, that's pretty impressive. It's impressive that you were able to think of the things you didn't want to do and make a different choice. That's pretty impressive. That shows a lot of strength.
Thank you.
Really. So after you used the fork, did that help you? Did you feel better?
Well, yeah, a little bit. I mean, I didn't have to, I didn't still want to hurt somebody else, and
Ah.
it kind of took my mind off of all that, and so I could stay here, so I didn't just get up and leave again like I did the other places.
So all those overwhelming feelings, all those things you didn't want to do. You didn't want to hurt somebody. You didn't want to knock the furniture around.
Right.
You didn't want to get up and leave. And so the alternative you could think of that would help you deal with the feelings was to use the fork to scratch yourself. Yeah, that's pretty amazing that you could make that choice, that you thought about what your best options were and you chose that. That shows a lot of strength. So are there any like negative things about using that, cutting yourself? What's the downside of that? Is there any downside?
Well, normally, like after it's over, a lot of times I have to, until they heal, I have to wear like long sleeves and stuff like that because I don't want people asking me, what's that? What happened right there? All of that stuff. So I just, I just keep it bandaged up and I try and just keep this covered, and it's kind of uncomfortable in the summertime because it's hot, but.
Right, so you have to hide it. If somebody does notice and ask you about it, what's that feeling? What do you feel when somebody notices? Do you know?
I feel ashamed and I don't know, sometimes embarrassed.
Why would you be embarrassed?
Because, I know that everybody doesn't do that, you know what I mean? So, but, it's been something all my life, but, I see people with tattoos or braces and stuff like that, and they don't have all that stuff and scars and stuff on their arms, so, sometimes I wonder, how's that gonna look, later in life on my arms, or, will I ever stop that? And, how am I gonna wear short sleeve shirts and, when it heals up? I know I'm black, but
right. So
but it's not gonna just like disappear. So
right. So you don't really like having scars, and you don't really like people knowing that this is what you're doing. So those are the downsides. Those are the reasons why you might not really like doing this. And it sounds like you wonder if you're going to need to do it forever.
Yeah.
So first I want to say again that it's amazing what you're able to tell me. I mean, I just want to tell you, not every kid I talk to can even say, I feel shame, can even name their feelings. So another thing, it seems like you're really aware of your feelings and you know how to name them. And it also sounds like you really think about what you do. So given all that, if we together could come up with other things you could do instead of cutting, maybe you would be willing to try them?
Yeah.
So have you ever successfully resisted an urge like that? Have you ever done anything else that worked? Ever in your life, even one time?
No. I mean, when I do stuff to other people,
okay,
I don't do stuff to myself.
So hurting other people was another thing, but you've always either hurt someone else or hurt yourself in these kinds of situations as far as you can remember.
Yeah.
So messing with your food, that's one trigger for you.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Do you know what the others are? Like, what are the other kinds of things that people might do that bring up really difficult feelings for you?
When people say mean stuff like, why do you look like that? Or, why do you have that? Why you always got on long sleeves? And, or they say like, why you always wearing all those bracelets? Or, or just when they question me about stuff like that, and I really don't want them all in my business like that. It's just
so sometimes you feel a little like people are too much in your business, and that's another trigger. People being sort of, pushing themselves into your business. That's another kind of trigger. So now we know two: messing with your food and getting in your business. So do you think that there's a connection between the bad things that have happened to you and your cutting, do you think?
I guess.
Mm-hmm. So it's not uncommon, actually, for kids who've been hurt to end up finding ways to cope with the feelings of being hurt. And one pretty common way is to hurt themselves. So you're not the first person who said to me, I do this when I'm feeling overwhelmed and then it makes me feel better. Like, that's not an uncommon experience, and it's a particularly common thing for people who've been hurt when they were younger. That's a common kind of thing. And so you're not the only one, And how we like to work with people here is we want to help you learn what are the triggers for your urge to do that. So know what they are, just know them so that when it happens, you're not surprised. And then what we want to help you do is try other things before you cut. So try other things and see if they'll help you with those feelings, you know? And you and I will talk again about what those different things might be. Some things I might teach you how to, to do and to try. Others, I'm going to try to help you find. So you might want to think about any time you ever resisted the urge and what helped. You don't have to talk about that right now because we don't have that much more time today. But I want you to start when you can and when you feel calm, thinking, well, did I ever resist the urge and what did I do? And maybe making a list of the things that make you feel good. So thank you, Karima. You did a really good job with this. I really appreciate how much you were able to share with me. Really do. Thanks.
Thank you.
This scenario illustrates a trauma-informed approach to the use of self-injury. My initial focus in this interview is to validate and understand Karima's experience of the event. So I ask her a lot about her feelings, a lot about the sequence of events and what her experience was at the time. I use my own self-regulation skills in order to do this so that she isn't triggered by my response to what she's been doing. As she herself mentions the memory of the dog food, I take that opportunity to connect her memories and her past experience with her use of the self-injury. What she's able to teach me about is that self-injury in this case is an effective strategy that she has used to manage difficult feelings. When she says that she's unable to trust the staff in the program, I'm very careful not to challenge that because it's actually a pretty reasonable statement from her given that she just met these people. And that's a way of joining with her and helping her to see that I truly understand her experience. Once I'm certain that I have validated her feelings and that she's explained the event to me and she feels heard and understood, then I do a probe to see whether she has any ambivalence about the use of this coping strategy. What I'm looking for here is what stage of change she's in, because I don't want to jump ahead of her and begin to talk about changing the behavior if she herself doesn't have any ambivalence. However, it's very clear that she does, and then I'm able to demonstrate with her and kind of lay out a plan for us going forward about how we can work together to eventually help her to find other behaviors. So we talk about her triggers. I try asking about the coping strategies that she currently uses, and when I don't get any, I go back to the triggers and tell her that maybe going forward I'll be able to teach her some strategies, or maybe she'll be able to think of some. One person viewing this video objected to the fact that I used the word kid, and it's possible that that could have been heard as disrespectful. It is important to pay attention to the language you use and to use the client's own language as much as possible. But if you make a mistake and use a word that they react to, then it's important to, to apologize for that, back up, and then begin to use the language again that's comfortable for them.